the darkest nights, we find our light. Battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Surviving together, victorious, and never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hey, everyone. That ending, it lasts a little too long. That face. Misha, we got to change that face. I'll re-record that last bit for you. I swear I will. Let's see. Who do we have today? Oh, even before I do that, can I just remind you, you've landed at Surviving Together. The one thing I always forget to tell people, I figure you probably do know where you're at. But guys, this is a safe space for all trauma survivors. Connect with others, heal, maybe learn something. We chit chat, no drama. I know there's been a lot out there recently, but it all stays outside of our doors. Okay, guys? If you need to process something specific about a specific individual, probably best that you speak with me either ahead of time or personally. If you ever need my email to get a hold of me, survivingtogether, sass.com at gmail.com. It's in the description. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, there we go. Intro, I'm still working on it. If you liked our music, please thank Awakened by the Looking Glass Reflect. I can't even say your whole thing, Misha. Awakened by the Looking Glasses Reflection. She did our intro, which I know it's a little long, but we love the song so much. We're having trouble cutting it. What do you do? What do you do? Just say Ned. You know that works. Everybody else does, right? Who else do we have here today? We've got Crystal, who has been off in, I don't know what city you were in, actually. But Crystal has been away from home, and she has finally made it home. Yay, 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 yay. Happy she is here today. Misha, happy you're here. Mustang Mike, welcome over. I think I know you from Stiggs's channel. Welcome. We are going to be talking about grief today. I've got two different things. The 5 stages of grief. Yes, I have prepared, and we will chat about it. It's something that we'll be going into depth in future videos. Let me say that. Today is going to be an overview of the grieving process, of the 5 stages of grief. There's so much to do with it, though. People have entire channels devoted to this, right? And this is something I really want to get to working towards a live that will be about healing our inner child. If you never had any trauma as a child, if you have some adult trauma that you want to heal, it can work for that as well. The process is going to be the same, but I know a lot of us have childhood trauma that we need to process. And I want to do a live with that. And I want to continue to come back to that topic because I know it's something that so many of us are so desperate to heal. Like you address it and you address it and you address it. And you're like, when does the grieving process come? When do I feel okay about this? And we're going to talk about all that. All right. And get to that point. So that's a big one to do with grief that we all still need to get through. I do, at least, on a lot of things, on a lot of different trauma topics. Jana is here. Yay! Ben Bacon Bits. Oh, grief. You thought it was Grease. We've got it with two E's. That's a curious one, Ben. Audrey, welcome. So glad you're here. Yeah, Misha, how are your eye grains? Are they doing better? Oh, good. Sticks and Steel. That's where I saw you, Mustang Mike. Oh, very nice. Who else is here? I don't want to miss anybody, so I have to go back up. I think that's Body Illusion. Hey, how are you doing today? I loved your videos. Thank you so much for sharing them. Body Illusion has a channel where she's just started putting some things out, and I think it's great. Greece, it's a time, it's a place, it's a notion. I love that musical. I really do. Grease is like one of my all-time favorite musicals. Les Mis is up there, but live. I didn't see the movie. I heard it was really good, but I've seen it live too many times that I just couldn't bring myself to like go. Oh, John Travolta's character was so cliche. Oh my God, he was just, it's Grease Lightning. Tons better than Grease 2. Oh my gosh. Can we just put Grease 2 and Caddyshack 2 in the same category and just say, don't go to the number, don't go to the second one. Generally, if there's a trilogy, it's always the second one that sucks. I don't know why. Little Shop of Horrors is your favorite movie? Yeah, Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. That was really funny. I had no idea what I was watching when someone sat me down and I was like, why is there a singing Venus flytrap plant? I was so in a barber's. I was a little confused. I was like, kind of like Sweeney Todd, but molded a little bit differently. It's interesting. Ned, Cats is your favorite musical? I have seen Cats. I've seen Starlight Express. I've seen most of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. Although I don't think I saw Phantom of the Opera live. I have not. That needs to change. Caddyshack 2 was still the worst sequel in movie history. Like, I wasn't even sure I was still watching the Caddyshack series. It was so bad. I mean, does anyone have a release date for Goonies 2? Because I'm really, really, really nervous about that. I mean, even though Josh Brolin's like, is in it, I don't know. I'm really nervous about Goonies too, because Goonies is like, that's one of my childhood babies. That's, you just can't mess with Goonies, and that's just gonna be, oh. Ben, you were gonna start a stream. You got playing with the software. Yeah, you're killing me, Smalls. Ah. Um, my brain squirreled on me, and I couldn't even get it back to make a coherent thought for you. Audrey, you're probably going to avoid Goonies too. Yeah, I'm not going to see it right when it comes out. I'm honest. I will wait for reaction, because when you wait that long to do something, I mean, it better be a spectacular standalone movie, because I just don't know how you can do it justice. Weekend at Bernie's too. Oh, I don't even think I made it through the entire original Weekend at Bernie's. It was just so silly. Oh. Sticks was talking about OBS. It's a free online streaming platform, and it's got, I guess, Googles and gaggles of things and buttons to do and choose and this and that to change and everything. Too much for me. I need simple. I need push a button and I go. That's about it. Shannon's working, which means she may be high in the sky. Who knows what state she's over now? Glad you joined us, Shannon, though. We are just shooting the shit right now and just kind of going, whoa. I'm sorry. I'm just like reading. Ned, you're going to start working with it, huh? Well, that's fun. Let us know how it goes, how playing around with OBS goes. I think that's great that you're doing that. I'm having a I'm having enough of a tough time just doing regular video edits. If anybody saw the short, well, it was intended to be a short, but it ended up, even when I cut it, 1:19. So it was still too long because I tend to pause when I'm making videos. And I just I couldn't get it down to short category. I tried, taking out some dead spaces and stuff, but I still couldn't get it quite down. And even that took me, like, I swear to God, like an hour and a half. And it's ridiculous. It should have been like snip here, snip here, snip here. I don't see why it can't be that easy. I'm trying. Shorts are being extended to 3 minutes. Well, then I don't know what the heck was my problem. I made sure I had it in the right format, the 720 by whatever, 1280 or what. I made sure I took the video in that, and that, because I heard like up to 1.5 minutes. And I think originally it was only like minute and 26. I don't think I ended up cutting out as much as I thought I did. Oh gosh. It's slowly being implemented, the longer short times. Interesting. Well, hey everyone. Ned threw up Shannon's channel. She is going to be new to streaming, meaning I don't think she's had a channel yet, and I don't know that she has announced her first live, but she has been on our friend Jimena's channel, Cozy Comfort Corner. Did I get that right? It's something like that. Ned, could you throw up Jimena's channel as well? I'd really, really appreciate it. She is on noon during the week, noon Eastern. I will always say Eastern times because it's the only thing that I know for sure. Oh, God. I have not seen that in so long. Yoo-hoo! That was your next move. Yay. So these pictures? Well, thanks. So this big one is actually a portrait looking off the beach from a friend's place in Cayman Brac. And the woman who made it, I loved it so much. And she wasn't going to sell it. And my friend who had the condo down there ended up convincing her to sell it. And she bought it for me for Christmas one year. And that picture, I think I got in Curacao. And I loved it because the painting just kept going right on over into the wood. So, and those pictures, that is me in the Caribbean Ocean. Caribbean Sea, I guess it's not an ocean. Yeah, the angel. Yeah. I love angelfish. Queen angelfish. Oh my God, they're so, so beautiful. And if you've never seen one in the wild, oh my gosh. you don't always get to see them when you take a dive. And I had one dive and I was just following this fish. She was just so beautiful. And I'm just following. And I don't know what stopped me, but I just stopped and I lost it. It went off the wall. That's what it was. And I knew it was going to be in too deep of waters. And so I turned around to go back up. And then I looked and I was at 120 depth, which is the max for recreational divers. So I had to go back up. Yeah, but it was fun. Okay, Misha, I'm going to have to talk to you off stream about these shorts things because I have been trying to make more shorts, guys. I really have, because every now and then there's just a message that I want to, send out to you. And I'm having a dickens of a time getting YouTube to classify it as a short. I have 720 by 1 by 1280 or whatever. I've got that. I know it has to be down to a certain time limit. I put hashtag shorts on my thing and it's still not, uploading as a short. And I don't know why, I'm kind of at this point. So I'm going to reach out to you, and Misha, I'd love to get on a stream with you sometime to talk tech a little bit. It's definitely my incredible downfall. I would love to make enough money doing this that I can hire somebody to do that. These lives would be so much better. You get integrated video. Actually, you're going to get some videos today. Jen Marie, I was just thinking about you, Jen. I was thinking about having you on, and then I realized that you didn't have your computer. But I was thinking about having you on today to talk about grief with me. But we need to do something soon, something very soon. We will. Okay, so guess what, guys? I prepared 5 stages of grief, but knowing me, knowing my trauma background, I also came across the body's responses to grief. And I thought this was really, really interesting. And I wanted to go over it with you guys. 5 stages of grief, pretty much everybody is aware of them. We'll still go through them step by step. But afterwards, I really want to go through how this affects our bodies, how going through this affects our bodies, right? Because from a trauma standpoint, I think that we can totally understand this. And this is why I started the series with body memories, going back to that notion of, yes, the body remembers your trauma. Well, in the same way your body remembers a trauma, your body internalizes your loss, your grieving process. It's all internal until you get it out, until you actually go through some sort of grieving process. You may have never grieved formally, I'll say, or grieving with purpose, meaning you're actively trying to get through this. A lot of us just kind of get through life, it just, one phase kind of morphs into another, and eventually enough times pass that we've accepted the loss. But the more and more that I study trauma, loss, the more I am convinced that we really, really, for our own health benefit, need to grieve with purpose. We really need to be aware of the losses that we have. We really need to be aware of what we are grieving. Who are we grieving for? And again, this is another place where journaling, video journaling, however you want to do it, comes in handy, because it can help get all those thoughts down. One of the things that we are going to be doing with healing our inner child is building our biography. And what I mean by that is, and this is something I touched on last time, and it's something I want everyone to continue to do. If you want to do this with me as I'm doing this journey of trying to purposely heal my inner child, I wrote down all of the traumas that I could remember. Those big T and those little T traumas. I wrote everything down that I could remember. And that's as far as I've gotten with that. I need to revisit some of those traumas a little more in detail, especially the ones that I'm a little fuzzy on. I may never fill in the blanks, and that's okay. One, age. Two, trauma. Hello, we don't always remember all the pieces or in the right order, and that's our brain. That's our brain protecting us, 100%. There is so much benefit, though, to grieving with purpose, because it allows you to feel your feelings, and it makes you recognize where you are. You may backtrack through this grief process. You may go around in circles. It may take years. You may deal with something in a week. It's going to depend on the loss, how close you were to them, how much you've got to deal with, what else is going on in your life, right? All of these things. DeAudrey, this is why I wanted to go through this. DeAudrey says, I should do that too, but I'm not sure how to face it. Baby steps. Truly. Truly baby steps. The way I am going to approach things is I'm dealing with one trauma at a time because I have my background. I have such distinct pockets of them that it's easy for me to deal with it that way. I, unlike some members, did not have that continual abuse from, age 6 to age 12. So I don't have years worth of trauma that I need to deal with. I need to deal with how that trauma affected my life in general. But my individual trauma itself is not too difficult for me in writing to kind of get through. It's being able to look at it and process it. That's where I fall down. It is simple for me to talk about my trauma, to tell you about my trauma. What's hard for me is to look at that trauma, really look at that trauma and draw lines to things that affected me, things in my life that affected, that I can see either direct or indirect correlations from that. And I don't know why those ties are something that my brain doesn't want to look at. I know my trauma screwed me up. So where's the block? I'm not sure, but I'm going to find out. I can't do it in huge chunks, I found. I need to sit down and I say, I am going to talk about what I felt when my mom didn't believe me, when I told her what had happened. So I'm going to deal just with that aspect of the trauma. And how did that affect me? How did that affect my relationship with my mom thereafter? Did it? A lot of ties that I need to look at, and I've just been too nervous to do, and I don't know why. Even right now, talking to you guys about it, I've got nervous hand motions going on. It just makes me very anxious. Oh yeah, guys, can we throw up some ones for Todd? He is in the hospital again. Hoping he's going home in a couple of days. He was napping, so I didn't know if he'd make it on. But you just got your new room. Oh, good. Well, I hope you can get some rest now. I will not divulge what is going on. That is for you to say. But hopefully Todd will be going home in a couple of days, and he needs to rest up. Janet, who is an excellent writer, by the way, great person to take writing tips from, says, when you start writing, make sure you know in your heart that nobody will see your writing but you, unless you choose otherwise. Don't worry about sentence structure. Point form works too. And, this is really critical, because one of the reasons I hate journaling, I'm going to be honest, I hate journaling because I have this habit of writing in full sentences. And like right now, if I was to start journaling, I would start journaling about what was going on in my life right now. So what's happened the most recently? Let's see. The biggest thing, David left. So my best friend, who's been living with me for a little while he had surgery and got healed up, I put him on a plane yesterday, and I am missing him like crazy today. And I could go on for 5 pages about just how that's making me feel, and the fun that we had, and his effect on my son, and literally I could go on and on and on and on and on, and I'd never get anywhere, and I'd just be like, okay, it's an hour and a half later, I've got to get some stuff done. And okay, that was nice that I said all of that, but that wasn't really what I needed to deal with, So that's me when I get to my book. So I had to separate my journals. I have to have a daily journal where I'll write and I don't write in a daily. I know. I'm horrible at it, guys. I'm horrible at my journal consistency. I'm trying to get better. It's tough for me, though. But I know you should. I know I need to. But that daily journal is just for like stuff that I said. It's what happened today, what I'm going to do tomorrow. Do I have any worries, concerns, friends, this, that, and the other. And then I have my journal. It's my trauma journal. That is where I specifically sit down and I'm going to look at the pieces of trauma in my life, or a relationship that the trauma affected, or I'm consciously making the effort in that book that what I talk about is shit that I want to work through. Because if I don't, I will get sidetracked talking about a gazillion other things, and I will never get to what I think is important. The reason that I wanted the journal in the first place. It'd be nice that I could look down, 10 years from now, and I'd have all these journals about what happened in my life every day and what I was thinking. And that's great. And I literally could spend all day writing. At some point I'd catch up, I'm sure, but I have not been able to figure out another way of organizing things other than that. That's what works best for me. So take it or leave it. Yes, you're writing for yourself. Yes, Janet does have, that's a good thing too. Thanks, Janet. She actually has, on her channel, she has a show that she did all on journaling. So I would highly encourage, I know there's tons of people to check out, but Janet's great, and she's a wonderful writer. She fixed my resume. Holy, holy, holy. Definitely check her out. Jen, you can't stand writing anymore. It kind of burns you out. Yeah, that's where I get to, I guess, with a point. Maybe for the daily stuff, I need to do video because I can talk a heck of a lot faster than I can write. And here I can talk in full sentences and I could go all over and yeah, I could just have a gazillion hours of me doing this, talking about my life. Thanks for showing that up, Misha. Crystal Phoenix is another sub of ours. She has a channel and she does mental health things, but she specializes a lot on domestic violence, domestic abuse, anything that can happen in controlling toxic relationships, financial abuse, she's dealt with over there. Todd, please fall asleep if you need. Get the rest. Catch us on replay. We will be here. Okay. So we should probably get going, right? I'm going to start babbling otherwise. I'm listening to my son downstairs. I'm sorry. He's great. All the kids in the neighborhood come to him and now, like, can you help me fix my motorized whatever it is he has? Because they see him fixing his car. And he's got a motorbike. So they think, he'll fix it. And he's been helping them. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. I really love it. Hugs and love, Todd. Hugs and love, okay? Close those eyes and rest that ticker. We will be here on replay. All right. I'm going to pull this up. Which do you think we should do? Should we do 5 stages of grief first, or should we do grief's effect on the body first? I'm really struggling. This one's a toss-up. I'm not sure which one I want to do first with this. How about we'll do how grief affects our body, but he definitely is. He's very much enduring his skull. He likes it a lot. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to throw up a video for you guys. I'm going to share this with you. It's like 1.5 minutes long. I like it because it's animated and it is a very, very brief overview of the 5 stages of grief. Okay. So after that, I think we'll talk about the effects on the body and then we'll go through the 5 stages in order. Okay. So present. Share screen, getting a little better at this. Okay.
Losing something we love, or 5 stages of.
So if you can't tell, I I tend to listen to things.
Grief.
Sorry, I tend to listen to things on double speed because that's just how I am. So I will turn this down. This guy talks really, really slow. So I am going to put it at 1.5 because otherwise it's going to take us quite a while to get through him. But let's go back to here.
Losing something we love or someone who is dear to us can cause us a lot of pain. To accept the loss and overcome the pain, we often go through 5 stages of grief. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. First comes denial. When we experience a loss, we feel shocked and numb, and then simply deny what happened. The refusal to accept the truth temporarily protects us from all the negative thoughts and consequences of the tragedy. Denial gives us a bit of room to breathe. Then comes anger. We feel furious and resentful, often blaming ourselves or others for the catastrophe. Anger shields us from pain. Then there is bargaining. It is an attempt to regain control and negotiate the reality of the loss. We try to make promises or seek outside solutions to somehow reverse the irreversible. When the loss sinks in, depression follows. We go through feelings of sadness and despair. We withdraw from others. As we face reality, depression can help us process our grief. Healing can begin. Lastly, there is acceptance. We come to terms with what has happened. This does not mean we forget, but we find a way to integrate the loss into our life. We may now honor the memories of those who have departed and look ahead, knowing that after all, life goes on.
Okay. So that was just a brief overview in my crappy way of actually getting that up. I really need to get better with technology. When I first started, like in my 20s, I was all up with things. I mean, I could, put my own computer together, and funny how things change as we age sometimes. So let's talk about how grief affects our body. So if we don't go through this grieving, we are going to suffer greatly internally. But what are some of the things that happen to our body when grief comes upon us? Well, the first thing that comes upon us when we hear the news is we have a change in our brain, and it goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode, and it's got to figure out something to do. So it either shuts down and you're totally numb. You may physically flee to some other place. Whatever it is, that acute grief is very overwhelming, and it affects our entire body. So in addition to that initial response in our brains, our hearts actually can physically change, believe it or not. These physical changes will resolve themselves after the acute grief period is over. But initially, this is why there's broken heart syndrome, that you hear of people literally that they can't live without somebody. And they have a heart attack at hearing the news that their wife, their husband of 50 years has passed, and they have a heart attack and drop dead. Literally dying of a broken heart. And physiologically, this is true. Studies have shown that people over 65 who lose a spouse, lose a partner, let's just say, are 21 times more likely to die shortly thereafter. Is it just the heart attack? No, it's to die. Yeah, to die of, whatever. 21 times more likely. That's astonishing. Just absolutely astonishing. Deaudrey says my role ends up being keeping other people calm. Deaudrey, that's when it is crucial for you to be able to remove yourself at some point from that situation and go off. Go off, go scream, go sit in a dark room numb. Whatever it is you need to do, whatever your initial reaction needs to be, do it. Feel your feelings. Okay? As much as we want to be there for another person, and often as trauma survivors, this is a characteristic. And I wouldn't even call it so much just not a caregiving or nurturing gene or anything because of the trauma. I think it's a people pleaser. I really do. I think it comes down to people pleasing and trying to placate, let's just, do what you can for everybody else. And in the end, we always end up suffering because we're not getting our needs met. Nobody else is just coming up to us and going, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? We have to take the reins ourselves. You got to shout from the rooftops for yourself, because we cannot rely on anybody else to do it for us, right? And Ned said there are two very important entities that came into my life the same week through losing Christina, which is her daughter. I realized 3 days ago that I had put all my grief into those two things, effectively pushing much of my actual grieving process into denial and distraction. Both of those entities have morphed and changed recently. When I realized this, I was finally able to do something positive for my kiddo. And she wrote something which is wonderful. Misha is always writing poems and putting them to song, and I just absolutely love them. So Misha, throw up your own channel too if you haven't, because I definitely want people to check those out. She has, yeah, throw up your link, Misha. I definitely want to check that one out. She did one for Mother's Day. Oh, guys, it was incredible. Definitely check those out. Okay, back to heart health. Todd, I'm looking at you. Get some rest. Take care of your heart. Okay, it's most important. We want more resin. We want more resin stuff. Oh yes, Todd. Todd has a channel, and he makes things out of resin, which they're so cool. I still have to get one of his chess boards. I think they're the coolest little thing. And can you make an entire mini chess set? That would be really, really cool. Your heart is okay? Okay, well, take care of the rest of you then. Take care of all of it. You got bears coming? Aw, how cute. Like teddy bears? Or like bears? That'd be awesome. What I wanted to mention with our heart, guys, and this is something that I want to explore later because it's just something that I heard mentioned, and I was like, that is so cool. I need to look into it more. But just as our hearts can change for the worse when we hear about acute grief, or when we have grief in our life, acute, we just heard about it. It's first few weeks, first week, first day, whatever. The same thing can happen, different part of our heart, but we can have physiological changes because of intense joy. Now, how that changes the heart, exactly what it does, I'm not sure. I don't know if it just changes a piece of the heart and then, it pumps harder or pumps more, or, because it's excited. I don't know, but I mean, it totally makes sense. I would imagine most intense feelings can bring about some sort of physiological reaction, from you. I just think it's incredible that intense joy can do that as well. What are the other effects that we have when we suffer a loss? Crying. First one for me. Tears are going to come. You're going to tell me a loss and tears are going to come. And it doesn't really matter what kind of a loss it is. I cried my eyes out putting David on a plane yesterday. Am I going to see him in a few months? Yes. Can I call him anytime? Yes. Didn't stop the tears. It just, that's me. I'm a crier. That's how emotion gets let out for me. I didn't know how to feel any other feelings except crying to let them out. being angry wasn't allowed in my house. Sad, depressed was, but that's not really an end solution to anything, right? It's not getting anything out. So I cried. I was a crier. Still am a crier. I try to limit it to appropriate circumstances and places now, but I'm definitely a crier. And I did not know this, but Janet probably did. There are 3 types of tears. I'm just giving you a factoid for the day. There's basal tears, which are the ones that are moistening your eyes. So basal, baseline, you know. And then there's reflective tears. So like when you cut an onion and you start watering, your eyes start watering automatically. It's reflexive. You don't think about it. It just happens. And then there's emotion. There's emotional tears. Tears you cry because you're feeling something. And crying can be very cathartic. There are natural chemicals that our body releases when we cry that help to calm us down and that act as kind of a natural pain reliever, actually, inside. So it really can be very good to cry. Where I get a problem is when I can't seem to move on from the crying. Where anytime I think about it, I'm just crying. And I've discovered that those are the times where I need to reflect the most. And again, yes, by reflect, I mean write or video, not just reflect in my head, because I'll never get to the actual point that I want to. If I sit down and say, I'm going to meditate on this topic, guess what? I'll think about everything else, or I'll think about nothing, but I'll never think about that topic that I meant to sit down and think about. If I am overly crying, generally it's because I am stuck. I'm stuck in one of these stages and I can't get out. And it can be any stage. Sometimes the first stage, denial, right? Just not even wanting to deal with the loss. Crying nonetheless because you're sad and you're upset about it. But by purposely grieving, it also means we have to recognize the loss. And we're affirmatively making a decision to go through this process to get to the acceptance point. I don't know. Have you guys ever had a point where you've gotten stuck in denial? I know especially there's been a couple of friendships. I got stuck in denial. And it's funny because on some level, like I knew and almost accepted that friendship was gone. But by starting down that track, I really had to admit to myself, no, I'm not going to contact this person again. That friendship is totally dead. Don't try and just say something nice or good morning the next day and try and keep something going that really needs to be let go. And there were a couple, God dang, that were very, very hard for me to move on from. And it took something happening actually in my life to jumpstart that process for me, right? It's like something else came along and kicked me in the pants, just kicked me farther down the road. I had more to deal with. I could not have this be the focus of my life or focus of my spare time or focus of my emotion or whatever piece I was giving to it. I had other things I had to do. And so I had to get through. I had to at least get moving with that process. And, you know, it took several years for me to fully, I think, fully grieve the loss of that particular relationship. Looking at my piece in it, did I think I did anything wrong? No. But I just certainly realized that we were two very, very different people when it came down to it. Well, although we got on like a house on fire when we were just together and chit-chatting and talking and everything, we truly did. And it's just, being friends on an everyday life type of thing. Absolutely. And could I even divulge my deepest, darkest secrets to her if I wanted to? Yeah. But she didn't understand depression, did not understand clinical depression. Getting depressed, yes. Clinical depression, no. And I definitely heard it more than once. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, put your big girl panties on, and just move forward. Get on with it. Well, them dare fighting words for a clinically depressed person, because it's not that easy. You can't just do that. And what's blowing my mind now for me dealing with things is that I don't even know if things are depression now or if they're outshoots of not being, not having recognized that I got ADHD as an adult, or at least symptoms thereof that are exactly like it. And I didn't know it, so I didn't deal with it. So I haven't looked at those things that I do. I haven't looked at those traits in the ADHD context. And it's only very, very recently, like within the last 3 months, that I've started doing this. As I started doing this, I'm not going to say all my therapists were wrong, but I will say I'm really wondering if I had clinical depression, or if it wasn't that it was mixed with some of these other traits that look like clinical depression. And so for me in my current life, that's what I'm sorting out. And then I have then I have the trauma book that I have to go. Now you see why I have a specific book to deal with trauma, because when I have to go and do work, or when I say to myself, I'm going to go do work on myself, I'm going to try and think about this thing, I'm going to try and process this concept. Writing through it is the only way I know how to force myself to actually think those thoughts and to deal with something. Because like I said, I can't just sit down and think. Just have a think and think through it and process it all. And some people can do that, sit out by a stream, have a cup of coffee, and just process the world, process what's going on. I have a very peaceful time when I do that, but I don't end up thinking about anything. I just think calm. And that's almost like my meditation. So that's me. Yeah, why can't you just get over it? Many of us in here are the lost girls. It's a thing. Look it up. Well, Misha, I'm going to have to, because I don't know what you mean. Oh, it's a film. There's the Lost Girls of Sudan. I don't think you mean that. The Lost Girls of Ireland. Hey, hey, hey there, Deaudrey. The Lost Girls of Empire Revenge Story. That's interesting. The Lost Girls of Willowbrook. The Lost Girls of Paris. and The Lost Girls, 2022 film. So which one were you meaning? So there's a book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, by Mark Manson. Keela from Mental Health Matters suggested it. It might be necessary. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Oh, late diagnosis. Okay, yeah, I'm following you now. Not getting diagnoses until we get farther along. The Lost Girls, I suspect, of Ireland is probably a very grim tale of churches stealing babies. Yeeks! I don't think that was it. I think. Oh, now it's not doing the same thing that it did before. Yeah, I don't know. Well, this is a book, The Lost Girls of Ireland, a heartwarming and feel-good page turner. So see, there's a happy one. Sorry. I was trying to get these off. Look into Irish laundries. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm following you now, Misha. And says, okay, so this is something else that I'm having to, excuse me, I'm gonna get up, sit up a little bit taller. There we go. This is something else that I'm having to deal with is whether or not I had ADHD all along and my high functioning intelligent self masked what would have normally have been seen as ADD, basically, in girls. When I was younger. I don't know. I'm having to look at all these things, and it's really weird because I look at so many of them, and I'm like, yeah. Why have I been on depression meds for 25 years? What the ever living F? Which, by the way, guys, I'm down to 25% on one of them. I plan to go 0 on Monday. I already told my son. I said the next week may be a little wonky for me. So, just give mom a little extra grace. Not really sure how that's going to go. Oh, you're giving me rabbit holes. That's great. Not like I can't get down one of those. Oh, Lord. I get lost all the time going down rabbit holes. So, yeah, just dealing with my, daily life ever since the ADHD adult thing got introduced. I don't know. I don't know who I am anymore in a way. That may be strange to say, but I thought I knew who I was in terms of I was the person with major depressive disorder with a mild generalized anxiety disorder who had SA trauma as a child and SA trauma as an adult. That's who I was. I mean, really, those were cornerstones of who made up me. Now, if I have to look back and say, well, maybe I was an ADHD kid or an ADD kid, whatever, it would have been without the hyperactivity for me. It doesn't change who I am. I know that. But in a way it does. Because I've always felt bad about myself that I had major depressive disorder, that I had to take serotonin. And at one point in time, when the accepted verbiage was, well, I just have a chemical imbalance in my brain, right? And so that's why I need to take this. Not my fault, not anything I'm doing, not any trauma I haven't worked through, guys. It's just chemicals, right? And that made it easier to deal with. It took responsibility off me, basically, for having the disorder, for having the mental illness. Nothing I can do, right? And I was that way for a while. But I really had to dial that back when the studies about depressive medication and how well they were working or not working came out, and have been coming out. So I decided with my doctor that I was going to get off these depression medications. And we picked the best one to do first. Going to be off that. And then I don't know how long I have to wait before we start dialing back on the second one. I'm more nervous about that one. And honestly, I think there's some trauma processing that I want to do before I try to get off of that one. I don't know. I feel like that's the right thing to do. I feel like if I get off of them and I still haven't dealt with some of this trauma that I know is still lingering, that I'm just going to be back in the same place, which is like me not on depressive medication 20 years ago. And that's not a person that I want to be. So I think I want to do some of the work first, before I tackle that next one. But it's going in the right direction. So I'm happy about that. I certainly will. I certainly will. I will be careful, and I've been in constant contact with my doctor throughout this time in terms of, how much should we reduce now? Should I wait? I stepped down for a couple of days and I'm really not feeling it, step back. Let's have that step, we've been really, really, really careful with that. But I think that's why I am concerned about the next medication, because it's the more difficult one to come off of, I guess. And I want to be in the best place that I can be mentally before I tackle going off of that. Hey, Mock, how you doing? I'm so glad you joined us today. I can kind of here, there, and everywhere talking about grief and healing and the process. I still have a few more things to talk about on grief and affecting our body. Come as no surprise to you that physically grief and all that emotion can affect us. It's a stress response, really, right? Your anxiety can go up, your sleep is disturbed, your eating isn't what it was. Either it's up or it's way down. Doing your everyday activities, your hobbies, they may not seem enjoyable because you're just, ugh, But when the acute grief wears off, you should start to feel some enjoyment in some of those everyday activities again. It's not the case for everybody. And when we lose enjoyment in our daily activities for too long of a period of time, then that's when we need to start worrying, right? Because something is affecting our daily lives. It's affecting the enjoyment of all of our day, of how we enjoy our day. And if that's ever the case, we have to look inside us and say, what is going on? Are we grieving something? Is it some traumatic effects bubbling up inside of us? We have to look at it. Look like I just had a stroke, guys. I was just looking. Sorry, I was just reading something real quick. Da, 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 da. We know from experience with trauma, and grief is no different. Grief is a form of trauma that we go through, if you want to think of it that way. Some people never endure the types of traumas that we have. Some people will only ever have little t traumas, what they consider little t traumas, not the definition that we use of little t traumas, which are those cumulative neglect and abuse, little by little, that just, um, stack up over time. So like issues with your parents, parental abuse, things like that, bullying, racism. That's what we call little t trauma, because it doesn't happen whoop all at once, right? But when we don't deal with our emotions, what happens? When we suppress our emotions, what happens? We get sick. You can get physically ill. We've talked about this before with trauma in the body. That trauma gets stored in our body and can be the cause of our chronic pain, can be the cause of our autoimmune disease, can be the cause of our digestive issues. So many physical ailments that we have that can be caused by emotional issues because we are not letting it out. We are not going through the process. We are not grieving. We are being that stoic individual, So if your job is to keep everyone calm, if your job is to be there for everybody else, you've got to find a way to have someone be there for you. Whether it's part of this community, whether it's a friend outside of whatever, grief circle that you're dealing with, you have to grieve yourself or suffer the consequences. Truly. I want to play this real quick. It's a therapist. She has a channel called Therapy in a Nutshell, and she puts out brief, 10 to 20, 30-minute videos on different therapy subjects, right? Here she's talking about extreme emotions. She's just gotten the news of the loss of somebody, and she's talking about, Todd, there's no apologies in here. Absolutely no apologies. Get some rest, though. This is the place to be emotional. If you can't be emotional here, where can you be? Geez, oh Pete, we deal with trauma. In general, caretakers' lives are shorter. The stress is huge upon them. Huge upon them. And this is the point I was making in, I don't know whose live I was in the other day, where people who are caretakers, primary caretakers of somebody who is going through a protracted illness that is going to end in death, let's say like, dementia or a cancer, a terminal cancer. These people often are grieving as they go. They can even do their entire grieving and come to acceptance with years left before the person dies. But I think you have to, because as you're that care person, it's really, you are mourning the loss of the person who used to be. I think that's got to be the case with most caretakers. And I think the ones who don't start the grieving process while they're going through it are the ones that suffer the most. And it may be because they're in that denial, stuck in that denial stage. While the person's still kicking and breathing, They're still here. Why should I mourn somebody who's still living? It's okay to mourn who they used to be. It's okay to mourn the relationship you used to have when things change dramatically. When your parent can no longer remember who you are. You can grieve that. And Todd, it's okay to be afraid. We're here. I know you have a large circle of people that you can reach out to. Please do. We've got a growing community here of people dealing with mental health subjects. And if nothing else, even if the subject matter isn't for you, or like you don't need therapy, just having this connection, having the support. Say, guys, I'm having a bad day. And having 15 people come up and say, "Aw, man, what's going on? How you doing? Here's a virtual hug. Here's a pat on the back." Sometimes that's all you need. And that's just, wow, can that make you feel good? That there are other people out there who do care. They don't always have to be right in front of you. In fact, I think nearly everybody who I care about, say for 3-4 people, do not live in my city. So, and I get this feeling alone, because you are physically alone. You live alone, and you're not the only one. I hear this from several people who live alone. And yeah, the trick is definitely trying to figure out how to fill your time and keep yourself distracted from that. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Todd says he's been trying to reach out to people, but they have lives and children and significant others. You don't have any of that in your life. Yes, and that is true. My hope is that you have enough people who you can either talk to, text, get online with. I don't know anything about Discord, so I know there's a ton of different servers there. I have no idea if there's anything good there. We've got a lot of different lives going on with people now, some new channels that are kind of coming into the fold, more people putting things up. And just hanging out with our friends, even if they're not doing a mental health matters thing, like when Todd's making resin, just go out and hang. I wish there was more that I could do. I wish there were more people's lives that I could hop into with my work. It's sometimes not possible, but I do try. Todd, meet Crystal. Crystal, meet Todd. And you two are not the only ones, right? You two are not the only ones. This is why I think it is so helpful for us to connect with people, connect with others who are like us, because we get it. We've been there, right? That's why you started doing resin, right? Keeping something else going. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mark. Mark says, I always called it pre-grief, when you know someone has confirmed limited time, but getting to the process the grief before the person goes helps being ready a little better. Yeah. And I have not had to have this yet. I have aging parents, and I know it's only a matter of time before I'll probably end up as a caregiver to one or both of them. And that's hard. It's scary. Because I don't know if I could do it. I get overwhelmed easy on a good day. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to handle that, guys. That's a problem for another day is what it is, because it's not here yet, and I so don't know how to don't know how to deal with that. Mock, I wish you the best peace. My heart just goes out to you. It can never be easy. Ned says she was asked about us surviving together, having a Facebook group or something. We can do chats that are private there within there as well. You know what? I'm not opposed to it, but I don't do Facebook. So someone else would need to run it and manage it and, let me know what's going on, because I don't do Facebook, and I probably won't be doing Facebook. It's just a thing. So I know that a lot of people do love Facebook Messenger, and it's a great way to connect. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm just not sure how to do it right now, since I am not allowed on Facebook. They want me to verify my information, and they want me to send a picture of my driver's license, and I'm just not doing it. I'm not sending a picture of my driver's license across the internet to God only knows who's on the other end. So that's kind of my problem right now with Facebook. If anyone has a way around that or knows how to do it, or maybe I can make a community page. Maybe Surviving Together can have a community page, and I can get into it, even if I don't have Facebook personally. Maybe. I don't know. Misha, no. Your heart is so in the right place. So in the right place. But yeah, you've got enough going on. No, Crystal, it was, I tried to log into my, listen, when I had my nervous breakdown 12 years ago now, gosh, 2011? No. Yeah, 2011. I dropped off Facebook. I dropped off all social media, but that was really the only one that I was on anyway. And when I tried to get back in, things didn't quite work, and they were asking me to verify some things, and I wasn't comfortable with some of the questions they were asking, and I think I answered one wrong, and they're like, oops, nope, that's not you. So you have to verify who you are. So therefore you need to send us your driver's license. And I'm like, no. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm just not going to. But have you ever had them question who you are, Ned? Have they ever said, ooh, we think there's a problem with your account? See, that's what happened. And that's where the verifying the ID came in. Yeah, I can't, because if I set something up in my name, it flags, and I haven't been able to set up a fake one. So if someone wants to help with this, I'm all ears. If someone can set this up, I will definitely consider this. How about that? Maybe we'll get something going so that it can be in the new year. Don't think you can do anything for the holidays. So you guys will just have to rely on me doing another live or two. You have Facebook. Oh, interesting. Yes, we definitely have to get on a stream together, Misha. I think I've got some things that I need to ask you about this. Okay, so let me show you. I just thought it was wonderful the way this therapist talked about feeling her feelings and sitting with them and dealing with them. And it is so critical that we learn how to do this, because without it, we're not actually processing anything. We're not dealing with anything. If we just feel a feel and don't actually think about it and think about how we're feeling, think about what it's doing to us, where's the connection between my grief and my feeling? And this can be for anything. It doesn't just have to be for grief, but anytime you've got huge emotions that you go through, it is really important to actually let yourself feel them. Okay. So let me present this. I've got it right queued up. Now I was getting it to full screen before I even went share screen, so that won't work. Okay. Hang on, let me get full screen on here. All right.
So as I have all these intense emotions, I sit with them, I breathe into them, I notice them, I let them be there. And as I do that, I'm constantly feeling like I can feel, and it's okay. It's okay to feel grief, and it's okay to feel sadness. And I let them flow through me and over me, and I notice what's going on in my body, and I don't judge myself for feeling them, and I don't hide my emotions. I'm gonna put this video on YouTube, and I've got 60-something thousand subscribers. Thank you, by the way. But it's okay, and I can feel all of the feels. And that's what makes us have hearts and have a life and have beauty in our lives and be able to love people, even when we know that for a while we're gonna lose them. Anyways, I hope by making this video that those of you out there who also feel intense emotions can learn a little something about opening yourself to them. As you open yourself to emotions, they don't control you. They make life more beautiful, even if it's ugly crying. Yeah. So when you're feeling super intense emotions, here's what
Okay. That's it. It was just that little bit that I wanted to share with you for her. Rest up, Todd. Rest up. Take care. I think she said it beautifully. You know, she got a phone call of someone close who passed, and she pulled into a parking lot and just kind of sat down outside and was having her cry and decided to make a video for us all. I don't know how many times I have actually consciously sat with my feelings, like, and really thought about them. And not judged myself for them. That's amazing, Mark. My dad was 100% the opposite. So one thing I always admired in my dad was that he didn't suppress his feelings and just lived with them. No, my dad is the picture of stoicism. Very rarely see him beyond this. I mean, everything is just like this, you know. I mean, I've seen emotion obviously on him from time to time, but it's not anything that that's not how he was raised. Definitely Polish Catholic. Men keep their mouths shut, you know, and anything to do with the war, it's you know, so it's just not stuff he talked about on a daily basis. Mustang Mike, did we lose you? I know you stopped in at the very beginning. I just wanted to see if you're still here. I love getting new people, but I feel like a lot of times we'll have somebody new and they'll be here for like the first 5 minutes, and then I won't see them again. So they're like, hey, I'm here. And yeah, this isn't very informative. You're not going through anything that I thought you were going to go through. Could be. Did say I was going to cover the 5 stages of grief, and I haven't done much of that yet today. So why don't we get going with that? Because otherwise I will feel really, really bad that I did not do that today. If I can find my cursor. There it goes. Okay. Wrong way, wrong way. Scrolling. All right, guys, denial. First stage of grief, denial. Why do we have denial? You're still here just driving. Woohoo! We didn't lose one. No, glad you're here, Mike. Glad you're here. Denial. Why do we deny? Why would this be the first stage? It makes sense to me, right? A loss of this significance, whatever it is, whatever the loss is that you're grieving, person, experience, relationship, yourself. As Todd said, he's grieving who he used to be. I know that, I know people who have had to do this in their life. And anytime you could do something and now you can't, for whatever reason it is, if that's important to you, that's a loss that you can grieve. Maybe you'll get over it in a day, but maybe it's something critically important to you. Maybe it was the ability to ride a bike, and your vertigo is such that you can't do that anymore. And that was your ticket to freedom. That was your time and away from everybody. That was your time, just you and your head, to get out on the backcountry roads and just ride. Bicycle or motorbike, whichever you choose, right? But you can't anymore. I know some people, if they could not ride their motorcycle anymore, it would be a significant grief process they would have to go through, because it has been such a part of their lives since they were a young man. They are a biker. Even if they have a regular 9-to-5 job and all the things, biking and being on the road is in their blood, and that is what they love. And if they had to hang that up, wow. So it's okay to grieve the loss of something that means something to you, whatever it is. Hi, Body Illusion. I'm glad you're listening too. You call your mother when you feel like it? Yeah, it's amazing when you don't see a parent exhibit intense emotions, right? And then to see them cry. Or even, I'll be honest, the first time I saw my dad and one of his brothers together, laughing like hyenas, the two of them. And I'm looking at this going, who is this person and how are they making my dad laugh like this? Because I'd never met this uncle before. laughter was not something that was a regular part of my life growing up in my household. And so just to see my dad openly laughing and joking was such a bizarre sight for me. Caged, biker term for vehicles with walls. Yeah, definitely. You've been, Misha, are you a biker at heart? Oh my goodness, I did not know this about you. 100% Mock. Feelings for sure can have crappy timing, but you can only shelf them for a little bit before processing them. Yeah, because what have we learned? When we don't process our feelings, when we don't deal with our issues, they get stuck and they make us sick. And for those of us with a high score on our ACEs test, it's critically important. ACEs, if you don't know, stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And there's a test that you can do. It's 10 questions. It's real easy. Type in ACEs test, you'll come up with it. I have 2 videos. I have a video and a live that I both did on the ACEs test, and you can watch those and take the test. Basically, the higher your ACEs score, the more traumatic experiences that you had as a child, the greater likelihood that you will have health issues later on in life. And it's for a variety of reasons. Because of the tracks that our lives will take, the negative coping mechanisms that we end up with, the trauma that ends up getting stuck within us that we don't deal with. It's a snowball effect, right? If you're one of these people, and I am, and I'm 52, I need to do whatever I can to make myself the healthiest I can to be able to live my best life from here on out. You know? And I know as sure as I'm sitting here that by not processing my trauma, by not processing grief, for me, it's like Russian roulette. That's how I feel. Every day that goes by, every week that goes by that I still have shit to deal with, I wonder, when is it going to cause, when am I going to get sick? When am I going to, and so I have that in the back of my brain. But we get back what we put out in the universe, right? So you got to try and keep a positive attitude and stay happy and not worry about that crap. Man, life's tough. Life is tough. There's a lot of things we have to think about and deal with on an everyday basis. And so getting to grieving, getting to trauma processing, I truly believe we have to do it consciously. If we are really going to let go of that trauma, or come to that acceptance phase of our grieving process, we've got to consciously go through it. It needs to be a thought process. It's the grieving process. Yep, you're right. Wind therapy. Many friends I have who love their wind therapy. Being on a motorbike in the open road, just freeing themselves. My friend David is one of them. Crystal, you break my heart, but I understand. All right, I'm getting stuck in my head, and that's not good for a live. Be different. I have somebody else up here. I could just stare at them for a while and let them take over. But I'm the only one talking, guys. So got to keep the words coming. Crystal, big hugs, big love. And check your email as soon as we get off here, okay? So I promised you that. So definitely check your email, okay? All right, our 5 stages. I am just off in all directions today. All right, before we get back to our 5 stages, I need to ask you guys a question. All right, especially for those of you who have been in my lives for a while, who have watched lives for a while. It may be me, but I'm feeling like my last handful, I don't know, maybe my last 6 or so lives have not gone the greatest. Like, I've been maybe a little more scattered, even though I'm prepared. I just feel like it just hasn't gone as smoothly as maybe I would have liked. And I want to get your guys' perception. Have you noticed anything? Has it seemed off to you? Do you wish it was more continuous? If I just got right into the subject, and stayed on our 5 stages of grief and just barreled, gotten all through it. I don't know. I'm just feeling out of sorts. And I don't know if that's coming across to you guys or not. No, grief's not linear. Why should these shows be? I love you, Misha. Thanks. That was a perfect answer. Oh my gosh. Yeah, why should this be? Definitely, if you learn nothing else from me, take it and mean grief is not linear. You can get stuck in stages. You can skip a stage. You can go back to another stage. You can loop around several times. What you can't do is skip from denial to acceptance. It doesn't work that way. You can't be like, no, cry. Okay. You do need to feel a few things in between. That's not to say that all grief process is going to be protracted, drawn out, long. Sometimes you can deal with it easier. You're that caregiver who's been grieving for a while. Never look at somebody and say, you're not over that yet? Or, you sure you should be going out yet? It's not on you to say if somebody has grieved too long or too short. You don't know what's been going on in them. They could have been grieving whatever the loss was for a long time. Maybe they had already accepted something within themselves. Maybe that loss is related to a previous trauma that they've dealt with, that they've successfully made it through that process. So then when there's the loss of, let's say it's the loss of your abuser, and that can be traumatic in and of itself. But if you've dealt with a lot of the trauma behind the abuse, Okay, my brain was going somewhere a little bit differently with that. And as I'm saying it out loud, it's not working like I wanted it to. So we're just going to skink on that one. But absolutely, exactly what you guys are all saying. This is an interesting concept. Jojo says, I know this may seem a bit weird, but I really believe that acute grief is where the idea of being haunted comes from. I've been haunted. Do you mean like while you were in that acute grief stage, you were visited by somebody? Because I know so many people that that's happened to. Like, so many people that that's happened to. The night somebody died, somebody sees them in a dream or wakes up and sees them sitting on their bed and has an entire conversation with this person just to find out that they died like the minute before. I mean, yeah, I definitely see that. Not literally. You haven't literally been haunted. I need more explanation then. I take hauntings very literally. And just for the one time or continually haunts? I have a ghost in my house, by the way. We've named her Lucy, him, her, them, it. I'm not really sure. Sneaky little devil. Here, no, Ellen says, it happened to me when my mom passed. She visited me many times. Another sub here. We lost somebody and happened to be staying up. Oh my gosh, Misha, I never heard this. This is the morning we lost our Steve. There was a person who was a very dear to some members who had been a part of another channel for a while, Steve Molesky, and he passed away this past year. And Misha says she woke up bawling for no reason. Immediately, she felt him and heard Christina, her daughter, who had also passed away, sitting on the edge of her bed giggling. And they were telling me that they found each other. And that's just so beautiful. Steve visited somebody else. He had a busy night. I know several other people who felt the same thing. And it just was, I think it's a testament to how much he meant to so many people that his spirit would visit. I do. I honestly do. And I think it's wonderful they're looking out for each other. And I don't know what you believe. Maybe you guys don't believe in, in anything after life. I have friends who are definitive atheists, and until you show scientific proof to them that there is something, or they see it for themselves, obviously, they're just not going to believe it. And that's fine. You're welcome here. I think in spirituality terms, that's kind of my thing. So that's when you'll hear me saying some things in kind of for that realm. Hey, Seventh. Thanks for joining us. His wife said he was finally able to take care of us in all different ways. That is true. That is very true. There are so many people who I know whose lives he touched, and that's just a wonderful thing. Sometimes you still smell your mother's perfume. I could see that happening. And there's no one around, there's nothing, and like it's just all of a sudden you're like, you smell it and you're like, what the heck, right? Yeah, Yep, Mock. There I would say magic is science. Magic is science we haven't explained yet. Because think of 100 years ago and some of the things that are every day to us, right? It seemed like voodoo magic to people back then. And I think of another 100 years and where things are going to be and think that we thought we're magic. No, you can actually do it. I mean, they're making new elements. They're figuring out, they think there's a fifth dimension now that they think that they have identified, which, okay, my brain can't even wrap itself around that. That's just, yeah, it's science we haven't figured out yet. That's where I am with it. So, yes. And Misha, when the village gets a little farther along, I would love to have you on here as well to talk about it, okay? The village is an effort that Misha is spearheading, I think. I think it's you, solo, spearheading it, yeah? Some other people helping in, but it is going to be a place where creators, people can gather. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and getting a chance to have you on. It's been a while. I think you've only been on once. It's been a long, long time since you've been on. The pie that's on your videos is for Steve. Yes, Steve loved pie. Some magic at the bottom of every glass of science. I like that. Yeah, I know it has been a long time since you've been on here. No worries, Deaudrey. I'm still struggling to get through the 5 stages of grief, like most of us do. I'm just supposed to be explaining it, though, and I haven't even gotten you there yet. What time? I'm like, oh my God, 2 hours and I haven't gotten you through the 5 stages of grief. And that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Okay, I'm on it, guys. I'm on it. So first up, we have denial. And that shakes us up, throws us into a tizzy, and basically gets us in a place where it's the jumping off point and says, okay, what's next? What's next generally is anger. And again, this does not need to be the exact next step. These next ones, anger, bargaining, and depression, and your denial, all 4 of those, you can kind of you know what? All 5 of them you can bounce before. When you finally come to perfect acceptance, that's when you've moved on and you're letting go. But I will say, even if you've accepted a loss, there may be times where you fall back into depression or you fall back into anger. And that's okay. Feel it, let it go through you, deal with it, have a think about it. Why am I angry? What's the purpose? What do I want to accomplish? Let yourself feel all of it and then let it go. We can be angry at the loss. We can be angry at ourselves because we didn't spend enough time with that person. We can be angry because we didn't nurture that relationship like we should have. We can be angry because the other person, if they would have just X, Y, or Z, we wouldn't have this loss, whether that's physical death or not. So there's a lot of reasons that we can be angry. And it can get channeled at the person who is the subject of the loss. It can get channeled internally, and it can get channeled at others. You just may be a miserable person to be around for a while because you're so effing angry at the world. And that's part of your grieving process. Try not to be like, a total a-hole to the entire world for a real long time. But if you hadn't been before and then you are, and you're there for like a long time, if your friends are like, hey, dude, what in the world? What's going on? You need to listen. And you need to look inside and say, okay, is there something going on? Maybe they're seeing something that I'm not. Again, connection. Because if you don't have those connections with somebody else, you don't have that person to put a mirror in front of your face and to say, hey, I think we need to deal with something. Something stuck. What's going on? Right? So anger can be toxic. But it can be a very necessary part of our grieving process. We can be very angry at someone for leaving us or for being now left alone. Every feeling you are going to feel during the grieving process is valid. Okay? Period. Your feelings are valid. What may not be valid is expressing that in anger, in meanness, to somebody else, right? Or pushing those feelings onto somebody else, projecting your feelings onto somebody else and making that situation, miserable because of how you're feeling. That doesn't mean your feelings inside, how you feel. Sit and be with them. They're all valid, no matter what comes and goes through it. And I don't know about you, but that is a hard part for me to be. Sit and don't judge. Sit with your feelings and don't judge. That's a really tough thing to do. So what's our next stage that we get to when we get done being angry, right? If you're wondering, 1969, there was a psychiatrist by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And she put out a book called On Death and Dying. And she was the one who coined the 5 stages of grief. And she really thought of it as a linear process. Like you would go through this, 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 and this. So if you read her book, that's how it goes. We've subsequently obviously learned that it's much more than that. As we've been talking, you can get stuck in a stage, you can skip a stage, you can go back to stages. It's messy. It's really messy. Kind of be nice if it was a linear thing, because you're like, okay, I'm done being angry. What's next now? Well, it's bargaining. But it doesn't work like that. But you may get to the bargaining stage. And if you do, what's bargaining? You can't make the person come back. You can't trade places with them. But this is where a lot of the internal self-blame occurs. If I had only, right? If I had only. If he or she had only, that's the anger stage. And now we're on to if I had only. The blame, the guilt. I won't say it's never your fault because I don't know what the circumstances is. Maybe it is, but this is where we bargain with ourselves more than anything else. This isn't a bargaining with a higher power, although that can happen as well. Please, 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 bring them back. I'll eat all my veggies. And there's definitely discussions that sometimes people can have in regards to along those lines, but more often it's turning that lens inward and blaming ourselves and saying, well, maybe if I just do this, then maybe this will happen in the future. And so it can almost be bargaining for future events to happen in a positive instead of negative way. So what's after bargaining? Depression. Because once you've beaten yourself up long enough, yeah, I can tell you this one, depression sits in. And this is not clinical type depression, right? And it should not get confused with it, nor going through the grief process should that get confused with generalized depression. And this is a stage that people can get stuck in for lengthy periods of time. This is generally at the stage where that emotional weight of the loss really sits on you. I have gotten stuck in depression, particularly when I see other people moving on from a loss that I have not been able to move on from, that I'm still feeling like it happened yesterday. That's very frustrating for me. And I feel like, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. That's the thing. Nothing. That loss is affecting me differently because I'm a different person. I had a different relationship to that loss than somebody else did. Doesn't mean mine was a closer relationship. I just had a different one. But whatever it is, it's valid for me. And that's where we have got to take the judgment out of going through trauma processing, going through grief processing. Whenever we are dealing with messy, ugly feelings, we have got to take judgment and throw it out the window. You should not hear anything negative. No ants talking to ourselves. This is a time for us just to be, for us to exist with our feelings, whatever those are. Because unless we accept them as valid, we're not going to be moving through that stage very easily. You're not going to be able to let go of whatever it is that you're trying to work through. If you're judging yourself on every feeling and every reaction that you're having. Others don't know. Others don't need to know about everything that you're feeling inside. Doesn't matter how weird or ridiculous it seems to somebody else. It's yours. And you get to feel it. Hey, See No Evil, how you doing? Glad you popped over. Yeah, we're just in our 2.5 hour chat about Mark, I'm doing this because that's driving me nuts. I can't get my cursor on to go with this. This is something I'm going to be speaking about even more when, as we are dealing with healing our inner child, okay, and the grief process, because it is a grieving process. It's a grieving process. It's grieving for that child who could have been. It's grieving for that child who was. And there's not a lot of people who understand that, who understand going through the grieving process, going through the process of dealing with traumatic memories, traumatic events. And so you're right. people don't, those emotions don't have a place in society because they're icky and they're ugly and they're not nice and they're not happy, and people don't know how to deal with it. Right? And so I think a lot of us don't feel like we have support when we're going through this, when we're feeling this, when it's messy and it's ugly. And that's why I wanted to start this journey together. You know, we may end up in totally different places in terms of, let's say, March of 2025, March of next year, 3 months, 4 months from now, whatever. Somebody may have worked through something by then. Somebody may have barely gotten through their timeline. It doesn't matter. It's just that we're here for each other. And this is where I am so glad that you are here, See No Evil. So I try to remind myself that even though I might be having a bad day, my worst day could be somebody's best day. And that is true. However, around here, we call that trauma comparison. That's not exactly what you're talking about. But we really, really try and get away from talking about our own feelings and our own experiences in relation to somebody else's, in comparison to how good or bad one is going. Because your pain is your pain, and it is as big as it is for you, and that's valid. And the same to the other person. So I totally get what you're trying to say. And yes, I do think there are times that we can remind ourselves that, you know, listen, this isn't anything I need to get into a major tizzy about. Yeah, if somebody's having a bad day, listening or just validating their feelings can be one of the best things that you can do for them. A hug, a handshake, a pat on the back. I don't say handshake, but a pat on the back, a pat on the shoulder, something to say, hey man, I care. I get it. That sucks, but it's okay. It's okay that you're feeling that. Feel it and move on. Feel it. Validating where they are. It is so incredibly important. There is nothing worse when I'm having a bad day and someone goes, cheer up. Could be worse. I hate it when someone says that to me. Could it be worse? Yeah, it could. But it doesn't mean that what's going on now doesn't really suck. And all those feels that I feel and all that frustration that I have and all the anger that's going through this. Forgot where I was going with that, guys, because I started reading See No Evils to say, you say I'm not saying this properly. I know you're trying to say something positive and something good. The way you said it, though, did bring up the trauma comparison, and that's why I wanted to say that, because I know that you haven't been here before. But what you just said, though, about you're feeling like somebody else is having a worse day than you and listening to that person, that's so important. You know what? Even if you think you're having a worse day than somebody else, if you can listen to somebody, if you can validate their feelings and not just, hey, man, it'll get better. You don't have to sit and listen to their entire life story. But feeling seen when we're not feeling well can go a long way for somebody. especially to somebody who's not used to being seen very often. And you can come across that quite often with trauma survivors. Some of us seem fairly surprised when we're listened to, when we're seen. Because we generally haven't in our past. And that's why it's so powerful when we feel, it's so powerful when we find our voice. So, no, see no evil. I believe in what you were trying to say 100%. You're on it. You got it. No worries. All right. No worries. I'm so glad you're here. And this is really important, okay? Because I saw this happen in a live yesterday where two people kind of got into a little argument, and one person was not being understood the way they wanted to, and it kind of came out at the end, but it was really messy in between. And I want to encourage each and every one of you. I don't always see every comment, and that's why it is up to you guys who are in the chats. Let me know if something needs to be addressed. And if if you're the one saying it, if it's not coming across correctly or someone's not understanding what you're saying, say that. Definitely say that, just like you did. Say that. All right. And we'll backtrack around and we'll try and figure out, what you meant. And if it's still not coming across and you just want to, say it, come on board. I'll let you on. Join the screen with me, and we'll figure it out what it is you're trying to say. Okay? Because I think it's extremely important that we are all heard and that we're all heard properly, right? So please, especially if there's any animosity or it feels like any tension is growing because of something that you said, make sure that it's being understood in the right way. It's really critical. I just see too many people drop it and it never gets fixed. And I hate it when that happens. Night all. Todd's going to be going home. I said, sorry, night all. Todd's saying night all, guys. I'm not saying night all. Exactly. Sorry, guys. I'm just reading real quick. Crystal, where is your other thing? I think I saw it, but I was reading some other things. Don't know. Well, I know that, Crystal, I know that you were seeing the doctor, and I'm glad that you've gotten options. That's got to feel good. Oh, here's your thing. There you go. God, couldn't find it. I think this is wonderful. This is so critical. So Crystal's had an issue with some medical procedures. And yesterday, when she was having a procedure, I'm so proud of her. She spoke up for herself, and I'm so proud of the tech, was just right there with her, was listening to her, stopped the procedure, said, how can we do this differently? Found another way to get the answers that they wanted, and boom. So I'm so, so, so proud of you, Crystal, because you could have kept to yourself. You could have kept your mouth shut until you had an absolute meltdown, and you didn't. And I think, these last few times that you've done that, it's such a huge step forward, and I'm so proud of you. And that's so wonderful. Oh, I see. Okay, so see no evil is saying he doesn't approach situations thinking of his own good or bad days, speaking about going, my day is so bad, how is yours? But asking the other person first. And I think that that's a wonderful kindness. You are showing the other person that they're seen, and you're putting them before your own. That is, to me, the epitome of kindness. And if we all did that a little bit more, because the hope is eventually it'd come around and somebody would ask you about your day, right? If we all care about each other. Carrot cake. Don't ask me why I just said it like that. That wasn't the one I was going to put up, Crystal. I was going to put up Janet's, but no worries, Janet. I am so happy that your niece is having her 14th birthday. That's so important, and so glad you get to be there to celebrate it. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You can always do replay. I think it's great that you're over there. And I so wished I could see you on Tuesday. It's weird. I was coughing all morning. I almost thought I was going to have to cancel or have somebody on with me so that they could talk because I was coughing so much. And I have not since I've been on here with you guys. Maybe I just have to keep talking. And it's once I stop that I start coughing again. So I don't know if I have to see the doctor on Monday or not about this. We'll see. We will see. I'm going to get through these 5 stages. If it absolutely kills me, I am so glad that I played the cartoon earlier. Yeah, carrot cake. That's why I yelled carrot cake. Crystal, you found some absolute gems in that medical facility, and I'm so glad that you did, because definitely you can ask for those people back if it ever comes to that again. So, all right, guys. After depression, if you actually make it out of depression, where do we end up with? Acceptance. That's our last stage. And I want to say this again. Reaching acceptance does not mean you're never going to grieve that loss again. It's possible. I had a loss that I had grieved. I had grieved. Then something reminded me of that person in a really big and huge way. And if I didn't go through that grief process all over again, it was almost, because it had been years, but it was almost like getting punched in the gut again. The acute grief, obviously nowhere near as bad. But I had to go through it all over again. It just was something, so significant. I felt that loss. And I was angry. And I felt the weight of it, and I was depressed. And so I was two at once. I was angry and depressed, So you can have 2 stages at once. Let go of one and pick up another. But I was there for a while. And the anger dissipated after living with my feelings for a little while, a few days. But the weight of the loss, the depression aspect, just feeling that cloud, it took a good while. I don't know, weeks, months. It was a while. She gave you her name so you can have that test again. Oh, I'm so happy, Crystal. That's awesome. See No Evil says, what's your thought on this when someone's doing something? Well, I told them I'm doing good. Could you guys help me when I'm doing good? Otherwise, sometimes I don't even realize they are. Okay. I'm not sure I understand. Can you type that one more time, See No Evil? I'm trying to understand that, but I don't. If anybody else thinks they have a better handle on that comment than I do, please let us know. Oh, thanks for that introduction, Misha. That was really kind. That's lovely. And I'll read out some of these because I know some of them are driving. Mustang Mike is a new one here, and he's driving. Ned is going to be putting up some of our fellow SAS community, some of our channels of our fellow members. SAS community, that's what we call our community here. We call it SAS. I had to add letters after Surviving Together for my Gmail account, and SAS, or for my YouTube account, because Surviving Together was taken. And SAS is what I came up with. It originally stood for something, but now it's really just standing for just our community. You know, the letters themselves don't mean the same. But we're all a bit sassy when we get together. At least we think. My last text, I was trying to say, skip people, you're doing good. I'm proud of you because I need that sometimes to mother on the right path. I would totally take that out of context. Tell people. Oh, okay. You're trying to say, tell people you're doing good. I'm proud of you because you need that sometimes. Yes, absolutely. A kind word to a stranger, to an acquaintance, to a loved one. I always say, your smile is free. And what that can do to somebody else, just smiling. You're going out a door, somebody's coming in. Smile at them. Say, have a good day. Maybe that's the only interaction they got that day. Maybe that's the nicest thing somebody said to them that day. Some people, it still weirds them out. You say, hey, nice shirt. Standing in the line at the bank or something, you know? And some people are like, thanks, you know? Yeah, it just makes you feel better, right? It just makes you feel good. So when we do that, when we say a kind word to somebody else, and we do hope that that comes around back to us. But I'll tell you one thing, See No Evil, if you ever need a pat on the back, you never, ever need to be saying, having someone say that they're proud of you, stop on by or email me. Tell you all day long. Absolutely. Oh, you always tell people they're doing good when they're doing good because you know that you need that sometimes. I gotcha. Yeah. Can you imagine? And some of you maybe have had this happen before because you have a support system and you're going through something really rough and you're stuck in that depressive state and you're frustrated and you're angry. And someone just says, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You're going through it. But you're still going. So you're doing well. Just keep going. Not all of us have that kind of support in our life. If you can ever be that kind of support for somebody else, honestly, right? In an honest opinion, do it. It could make their week. Kindness is free. I want to read through a few of these for people who cannot read, who aren't in our lives right now. So the first one that Misha put up is Carry On, who is our dear friend Janet, and her channel is just going to be about life, guys. Right now, she did one on writing and on journaling, and she's just gotten started with her channel. So she's, I know, over time going to continue to grow it and just and talk about stories and life and carrying on, right? Todd Matrix Rabbit here. He is another one of our creators, subs who does creation, and he does a lot with resin, and that is his channel. Makes a lot of different really cool things with resin. I bought a skull for him for my son, who absolutely loves it. It's really, really cool. Let's see. I think it's the Comfort Corner, isn't it? Isn't what the Jimena and Shannon, what Jimena decided to call her space? So Jimena at the Magic of Healing, and Shannon Smith, who you saw in here earlier, she's working. And they are doing a channel together, but are also going to be doing it on Shannon's channel as well eventually. So that's what I know about them. And then, yes, remind us about Misha. Reminded Misha about Kim's channel, right? I don't think you've put Kim's up right now, but My Other's Keeper. Oh, there we go. My Other's Keeper. And this is by Kim, and she deals with mental health, all kinds of mental health issues. As Misha says, she shares her art, her heart, and other people's stories in a loving environment. And both Crystal and Misha have been on there often. And on the 21st, yes, she goes 6 o'clock Central, 7, or you're 6 Central time now? I thought you were Mountain. That was when I was before. Yeah. So 7 Eastern, guys. Kim goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on the 21st, 20th, whichever Thursday that is, David is going to be on talking about his new company and everything that they're doing with it. It is a wonderful company, guys, that is just getting off the ground, called the Love Ray Company. And it is all about giving back to the community. So 50% of the net profits that the site makes from all merchandise sales, and all the art is original, will be given back to charity. So that is just one aspect of the company, but is definitely one of the main parts of this company. So definitely tune in to hear part 2 of the company and this whole other half that he has that deals with art. And you guys will absolutely love it. Exactly, Mike. Everyone needs a pat on the back once in a while. We all need to be told that we're doing well, even if we aren't. I mean, if you can prop somebody up without lying to them, that's great. Otherwise, guys, sometimes little white lies do work wonders. Thanks, Sino Evil. He is he's trying to get it off the ground right now. He's in the final funding stage to be able to get the initial startup money to be able to buy the product and things of that nature. But we have figured out some pre-order situations and ways to kind of get this started without it. So hopefully the goal is definitely to be up and running and the store to be open in time for Black Friday. So a week or so. So yeah, shortly after he goes on there, I think you'll be able to go on to the website and have an actual store there. You can go on the website right now, the Loveray Company, but the store is not up and running. I'm not sure how much you can actually see on it right now. Yeah, Misha wasn't putting up anybody's channel in any particular order. There was no alphabetical order. There was no longevity order. There was nothing. She was just putting them up. All right, let's all pat. Pat, 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 pat. Oh, I can't see my hand. There we go. Let's all pat Janet on the back because good job. Good job. I'll even applaud. There you go. Woo! Say save me a piece, but I don't think it'll make it over here very nicely. So enjoy your carrot cake. One day I'm going to have your cooking. That's for darn sure. At some point we'll meet up here. And here's Misa's channel, who shares her life. She's an open book, guys, and she's had her fair share of struggles and ups and downs and shares it with us in the songs and the poems that she creates and in the lives that she does, which I never get notification for. I don't know why. And then Ben Bacon Bits, we have his channel. And Ben, has your channel morphed? Are you still the meeting pit? I think that's what is it still the meeting pit? Because was your channel, right? Yeah, I know it was. But is that still this one? But Ben's a really cool guy. He's really funny. He's into so many different things and is always researching some interesting stuff. I got to get Ben on here, honestly, because there are some topics that I want to talk about, specifically trauma in the body type aspects, some of the science behind things. Ben, I really, really want to talk to you about that. Email me, or I'll have to find your email somewhere and I'll email you, because I think we should get together and do some of that. Carry on. You got the recipe from Sally's Baking Addiction. Oh, God. Anything that's like that, I can only imagine. Yes. Oh, thank you. Another one. Jen Marie, she is an advocate and an outspoken person for the troubled teen industry. If you guys have not heard of this, if you don't know what it is, think of, if you're Gen Xer like me, the place that they sent bad kids to go get adjusted. Not prison, not juvie. Go get nature and get fixed. Whatever it is. They were horrible places. They ended up being horrible places. Let's just leave it at that. Some of you may know Paris Hilton as the face of the troubled teen industry. And she has a nonprofit organization. And I know Jen has been doing a ton of behind the scenes work for them as well. And so I know she hasn't put out a lot of content recently, but she has been doing so much work in the industry, though. I know when she gets set back up, she moved, and she needs to get all set back up again so that she can do lives. And when we do that, she'll be back up and running. Do I ever have people on the panel? I do, not very often, and not because I don't want to. It's just I got into this started doing this as just me talking. As we have grown as a community, I have definitely gotten to the point where I think there is a lot that I can do with other people and having, on the channel. When I first started this, there were so many topics that I wanted to cover and so much information I just wanted to get out there. Kind of like covering everything once and then feeling like then I could go back over it and go in depth or cover only one little piece of it. Like with the 5 stages of grief. I want to do a whole thing on denial. I want to do an entire thing on denial, and let's talk about it. And I think that sort of thing is great then to have somebody else on here with me who we can be talking with you in the chat and with each other, right? So I'm looking forward to 2025 and having more people on. I don't think I'll ever be just an interviewer. Kim always has somebody else on her channel. She does not feel comfortable just talking for hours like me. But I would love to have people on. If you're thinking that you might want to be on, or you've got some topics that you want to talk, or you've got some ideas for a panel that might be good just with somebody else, email me. Please leave a comment. As I'm thinking it, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe, like, and bell for notification. If you are subscribed, please still hit that like button. YouTube really likes it. They like it when you chat too. Apparently, the more you chat, the more the algorithm thinks that people want to see the video, and so the more it pushes it out to people. It's not our primary way to gain new viewers, but it's definitely a way that we can let them know that the space is available, which is why I am trying to get out more shorts, because I know that they're more accessible, and it's easier to listen to somebody for 30 seconds than to go in and see all these videos that are like an hour and longer. Oh, now that would be an interesting format. And just have questions. Just have questions that I answered. Or answering pre-submitted questions. I could do that. That would be something too. Yeah, Jenna, have fun with your family. Give your mother a hug for me, will you please? Janet's mom is 95 years old and has the coolest glasses ever. I just must say that. They're black. They're not thick rimmed, medium. I'd say medium rimmed, like this. But they're octagons, like a stop sign. They're so cool. I love it. And I love her. Awesome. Did we make it through, guys? Did we make it through 5 stages of grief already? Yeah, I hadn't thought of that format either. I mean, I've had a few shows where I've come on and said, anybody got any questions? Because I don't have a thing prepared. And we just talk. But if I was preparing ahead of time to say, this is our topic, email me your questions, and then we can have a Q&A like that. And we could, put the questions up on the screen or something like that. That would be, definitely be an interesting thing. Why do I always end up near this bottom line here? I am the worst with posture. This show is going to cure that. I swear to goodness. Don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize, See No Evil. We have loved having you. Absolutely. And it's not coming off wrong. You're coming off just fine. Believe me, I grew up in New York, upstate New York, but it's still New York, okay? And I moved to Iowa. Don't ask. But don't worry. You are more than welcome to be here, and you have not offended anybody, to my knowledge. Certainly have not offended me or put me off at all. But I hope you have a great weekend as well. And I look forward to seeing you on Stigses. I think it's a really good reminder that people who come into our show, people who touch our community, may not be coming at trauma the same way that a lot of us are. We may find we have people in the chat who, for the first time, are in some place that is even addressing a trauma. Maybe you don't even have a trauma. Maybe you're a trauma survivor supporter, and that's okay too. Everybody is going to have different attitudes. And that's why it is so critical that we make sure that we understand where someone's coming from. We understand what they mean correctly so that we don't have disagreements, right? But we've got people from all over the world, literally, here in the chat. So I love it that you're from New York. Mustang Mike, are you from New York as well? Have a great night, See No Evil. We'll talk to you soon. We are getting more, Misha. I'm impressed. That list was something. Mike's in Massachusetts. Awesome. Well, we have a good representation of the U.S. here. We've got Canada. I don't know if Flick is watching or not, but generally somebody from England. We got Ireland, Germany, occasionally Australia. Yeah, lots. All over the world. We love it. Absolutely love it. Because it truly shows how connecting trauma is, how ubiquitous, how similar the experience is. The traumatic event is going to differ for all of us. That trauma that it causes on our body and the process that we go through living thereafter with that trauma and all of the effects, and then the eventual process for letting go of that trauma, it's really similar. Yeah, the fine details are going to differ for each of us, but it's a really similar process. And that's why we can understand each other. And I love that. Sorry. You have a joke about Canadian people, Mike? I don't know. Canadians, let's vote. Crystal, what do you think? You want to hear you want to hear it? Are we up? Janet, are you still there? As long as it's in good taste, go ahead. Why do Canadian couples have sex toys? I'm so sorry. That's so true. That was funny. That was funny. I don't know. Whew. It's getting warm in my office, actually. Yoo-hoo! Ah, I love that one. We're protective our Canadians. Yeah. But that was a really good one. That was a really, really good one there. I'm not sure if conversations with Christy, she's still going on. I know she popped in here one day, and I think she was going to go on after that, but whether she is going on a regular basis, I don't know. Yeah, that I'm not sure. So, guys, we did make it to the end. We made it to acceptance. And again, I just want to impress upon you, acceptance doesn't mean you're done with the grieving process forever. It doesn't mean, okay, woohoo, I'm happy now. I've accepted it. I've gotten to a great place. Well, you may have gotten to a good place, but it may come around again. And if it does, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong the first time you went through it all. It's just how life works. It's how feelings work. And sometimes we got to go through it all again. I'm just reading our takeaways, just making sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to tell you guys today. No, we've covered it all. We've covered it all. Grieving process is not linear, and it's not going to look the same from person to person for even the same loss. And we can't expect it to. So, but if you know somebody who's going through the grieving process, try and support them. If there's a way that you can, whether that's lending an ear, whether that's maybe trying to take them out if they're stuck in that depressive stage, bringing them a meal, whatever it can be, whatever your random act of kindness would be towards that person. Because not a lot of people flock to us when we're grieving, when we're working through our trauma in a process. It brings up issues and it brings up messy feelings. I will only ever tolerate support on this channel, but I will always tolerate open discussion. Because it is only through open discussion that we learn. And it's like with See No Evil. Had we not continued to talk about that, to continue to ask, to continue to get there, we would have lost that. And he had a brilliant point to make. Plus, I don't know everything, right? I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm someone who's gone through a lot of trauma and healed some of it. And have a big mouth and platform now. So I get to chat with all of you. I have also noticed I'm starting to have trouble forming some of my words when I talk too long. I'm kind of getting to that point now, guys. It has to do with some issues that are going on inside my mouth. My tongue gets tired and it has a harder time talking after a while. So since we have made it through all of that, I say that we all enjoy our weekend. I'm so glad that I got a chance to be here with you guys. Yes, ants, out of here. If you don't know, ants are automatic negative thoughts. So any of that not nice stuff that we tell ourselves, those are automatic negative thoughts. And what's the pet? Positive something thoughts? I forget what the E was. See, no, we will see. That's great. DeAudrey is going to experience her first sub-zero temperatures, and we mean sub-zero Celsius, next week. Well, best of luck. Bundle up. I will tell you, though, there's nothing better when it is freezing cold outside, snowing, and you are just toasty warm, big, huge sweater, blanket, the fire, or heater, or whatever, or snuggled up in your bed. I just love that. To me, that is awesome. It's like right now, I've got my, you guys would never know it, but I have my lovely fuzzy thing 1 and thing 2 Dr. Seuss jammy pants on because they're comfy. Oh, I thought you said Steggles was going live now. I was like, whoo, what, where? Yep, Mox lived in it long enough. Layers and wool lamb inlay soles, which reminds me I need to get a new pair for my boots. My Uggs. The old ones just ran away. I mean, I just took them down to nothing. Water bottles and infinite books. All right. -1 or -2. I do. I laugh at you, DeAndre, because I think we're there right now. That's probably what it is outside. Oh, that's hilarious. You got some snow boots, so that side's covered? That's awesome. Yeah, Tommy Sticks has a great channel, you guys. Misha just threw it up. Tommy lives in North Jersey, and he talks about whatever he wants, whatever the subject is. Generally, he'll come in with some bullet points, but he has coffee talk in the morning at 7 o'clock and Eastern. And then wine down Wednesdays. Is it only on Wednesdays that does the wine? I don't know. Sometimes he goes live more than once a day, but glad, Mike. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, we shied very much away from drama. We have enough of it in our lives in other areas that we definitely is not somebody that we it's not something that we like having over here. When are you leaving for Florida? And where in Florida are you going? Because Shannon lives in Florida and David's currently in Florida. That's where I put him on a plane too. So where in Florida are you going? I gotta know. And when? I'm very jealous. It was 78 or 80 or something like that today in Tampa. Yeah. Maybe one day. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get to snowbird down in Florida. We'll see. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. You have hung out with me for quite a long time today. It is already dark here because I am on the East Coast and it gets dark at like 5 o'clock in the evening now. So I am going to kill a stink bug that I see hanging on my curtain, which heaven only knows if it's alive or not. And I'm going to grab some dinner. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with my evening. I've got a book that I'm reading right now for a research project that I'm doing. And I have another video that I want to watch on it as well in regards to the pedophile rings, the worldwide pedophile rings that I am putting together. You guys are going to be amazed when this is done. I'll just keep talking about it until it's done, maybe a couple of years from now. But man, it's interesting. Crystal, I will check my email as soon as I click off and grab something to drink. Definitely grab some hot cocoa, something warm. Ooh, a glass of apple cider warmed up. Oh, love that. Love warm cider. That's so yummy. So, mwah. Thank you everyone for being with me here today. Remember, surviving together, never alone. You're strong. You are worthy. You are valuable, and you're loved just the way you are, just for who you are. Hugs and love. Bye, guys. Talk to you later. Tommy's our Seinfeld. Yes.